Welcome to this orientation video for the fall stated meeting of the Presbytery of West Virginia, which will be held on Saturday, November 18th at First Presbyterian Church in Charleston. There will also be an opportunity to participate in this meeting through Zoom, which we hope will go smoothly. However, we still need a quorum of ministers and ruling elders present in person. I'm Susan Sharp Campbell, Associate for Educational Ministry for the Presbytery. And in this video, I will be walking through the advance packet for the meeting, which includes the docket for the day, the worship bulletin, and flyers with information about upcoming events. In addition, I will lift up some of the specifics of the work we will be about on the 18th. The advance packet was sent by email on Wednesday, November 8th. It can also be found at www.wvpresbytery.org. I'd suggest you go ahead and download this if you haven't already, so you can follow along with the video. It's a long document, and you don't need to print all of it, though you will need to be able to download it to the device you will be using on the 18th. If you're on Zoom, you may want to print the docket and the worship bulletin in advance so you can reference it during the meeting. Other options to best participate on Zoom might be to download the packet to a second device, or plan to divide your screen so you can see the Zoom screen and see the reports under consideration at the same time. If you're going to be in person and you'd like to have a hard copy to reference during the meeting, please call the office at 304-744-7634 or email office@wvpresbytery.com no later than Wednesday, November 15th, and it will be waiting for you when you check in at registration. Please note that while I hope this video is helpful as you prepare for the meeting, it is not intended to replace reading the packet prior to the meeting. As you read, however, remember that as Presbyterians, we trust that God's Spirit guides us as we seek to discern where God is leading us together. That's why we don't have proxy voting or absentee voting. We make decisions together where all will have the opportunity to hear and be heard. So come informed, having read the material, but come open to where the Spirit might be leading us as we gather together and discuss the items of business. At each meeting, we engage in mission by bringing items designated by the host church to assist one of their missions. For this meeting, we've been asked to bring Pop-Top soups, Pop-Top pastas, Pop-Tops mac and cheese, and ramen. On the 18th, plan to arrive at the church between 9 and 10, so you'll have time to check in, pick up your name tag, and pay for lunch if you haven't already done so, and enjoy a time of refreshments and fellowship prior to the meeting start at 10 a.m. If you're joining by Zoom, please plan to log on between 9:30 and 10, and please be sure that your name shows on your screen so those taking attendance can note your presence. If more than one of you are sharing a screen, please put both names on the screen. The docket for the meeting is found on pages 1 and 2. It sets forth the order in which business will be taken up. The asterisk by several items indicates that they are an order of the day and will be taken up at the designated time, even if that means we stop something and come back to it later. At 10 a.m., David Lee, pastor of Marlinton Presbyterian Church and moderator of the Presbytery, will call the meeting to order. The first item of business will be welcoming new minister members to the Presbytery, including Skylar Olt, a minister member at large. If there are any new corresponding members, that is, ministers of Word and Sacrament who are members of other presbyteries attending this meeting, they will then be introduced and seated, which means they'll be given the right to speak as part of the meeting. Ruling elders who are attending Presbytery for the first time as commissioners will also be recognized, including any attending by Zoom. At this point in the meeting, the presence of a quorum will be announced. A quorum for this meeting is 15% of ministers of Word and Sacrament, or 16, and 15% of our churches represented by a ruling elder, or 18. Once a quorum is noted, the docket for the day will be approved, followed by the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, you find items that those planning the meeting have identified as not likely to be discussed, so we take up these items together. However, if any voting commissioner wants to discuss or hear more about any item, it can be removed with a simple request that that be done. Items on the consent agenda for this meeting include approval of excused absences and approval of the offering during this meeting being given to the Presbytery's Hunger Grant Fund to supplement the funds collected through the 2 cents and sensibility offerings of churches. Temporary clerks will be appointed by the moderator then. Their role is to count any votes other than voice votes and to pass out anything that needs to be distributed during the meeting. Members of the leadership team who are on site will be appointed to serve as the Committee on Bills and Overtures, and they will take up any new business and make a recommendation on it at the end of the meeting. Please note that any new business to be introduced must be given to Maureen Wright, Transitional General Presbyter and Stated Clerk, in writing prior to lunch. At each presbytery meeting, there is time in the morning for an educational focus. For this meeting, Dr. Lou Ortenzio of Celebrate Recovery, West Virginia, will be sharing information about addiction and recovery in West Virginia. Following a time for announcements, we will enter into a time of worship, during which we'll be celebrating the sacrament of the Lord's Supper. If you're joining by Zoom, I encourage you to have some sort of bread and beverage with you as we worship. You'll find the worship bulletin following page 56 in the advance packet. At the end of the bulletin, you'll find information on who our worship leaders are and resources that were used in the creation of this service. If you're worshiping on Zoom and wish to contribute to the offering, or if you're in person and need to contribute later, you'll find how to do so at the end of the worship service. Following worship, we'll break for lunch. For those who would like to hear more about the work of the PCUSA's Israel-Palestine Mission Network, Marietta Macy, a member of the network steering committee and minister member of Presbytery, will be available for conversation around PCUSA resources on the conflict between Israel and Palestine. The location of this discussion will be announced prior to lunch. After lunch, we will reconvene with prayer. On page 9 of the advance packet, you'll find the procedural matters that guide us as we meet together. Section A lifts up principles of parliamentary law, which include courtesy to all, one item at a time, majority rule, respect the rights of the minority, justice for all, and partiality for none. These are all ways to show respect for one another as we seek to discern where God is leading us in our decisions. In general, they seek to help us know how to work and play well with others as we gather in community. As items are discussed, pro and con speakers will alternate with individuals being asked to identify their position. When one person has spoken on a pending question, all others wishing to speak will be heard before that person can speak a second time. It takes special permission for anyone to speak on the same question more than twice. Section B contains provisions from the Presbytery's manual that guide us as we meet together, including who has the ability to speak, called having voice, and who has the ability to speak and vote. Section C sets forth the procedural rules we follow. These include everyone speaking for any reason needs to go to a microphone, and when called on by the moderator, share their name, their church, or their relationship to the presbytery. Please don't assume that everyone can hear you from where they sit. They can't. Or that everyone knows your name. They don't. If you're on Zoom and wish to speak, you'll need to raise your electronic hand or place a request in chat. We will make every effort to recognize those on Zoom. Here you will also find that the limitation for debating any motion is 30 minutes per main motion, with each speaker limited to 3 minutes per speech, though this must be approved by 2/3 of those voting on the 18th. So if you see an item that you wish to speak to as you go through the packet in advance, I would encourage you to take a few minutes and jot down your remarks so that you're able to use your time wisely. Finally, on page 6, you will find information on motion basics we follow Robert's Rules of Order's parliamentary procedure. Maureen Wright will then present the stated clerk's report. Her written report can be found on pages 4 to 6 in the packet. There you will find a listing of communications she has received and where she has referred and shared them. The recommendation regarding excused absences will most likely have been acted on in the consent agenda. There you will also see the recommendation that the Presbytery form an administrative commission to dissolve the Alderson Presbyterian Church at the request of the session there, and that commission's responsibilities. If the recommendation is approved, the moderator will name the members of the commission. In the information section of this report, you will find that our statistical summary has been submitted to the session, and also the list of churches whose 2022 session records have been reviewed. At the conclusion of this report, on pages 7 and 8 referenced in item 2, you will find the rolls and registers of the presbytery that are required to be kept. Maureen Wright will then present a verbal report as the transitional general presbyter. We will then move to the reports of the leadership team and committees. In these reports, you will find recommendations that we'll be voting on, as well as information on the ongoing work of the committee. Please note that because recommendations come from a committee, they will not require a second. The leadership team report can be found on pages 11 and 12. There you can find information about their work, as they have met several times since the August Presbytery meeting. They continue to work with Emily Swanson of Holy Cow Consultants to discern where God might be calling this presbytery into the future. The report of the Committee on Representation, which is responsible for nominating persons to serve on presbytery committees, to serve as committee chairs, and to serve as commissioners to the General Assembly, can be found on pages 13 and 14. They will be nominating those persons listed, but as with all nominations, there will be an opportunity for other nominations from those present. Please be aware, however, that if you wish to nominate someone for any position, the person nominated must have agreed in advance to serve if elected. The final report of the Administrative Commission to dissolve Ruffner Memorial Presbyterian Church can be found on pages 15 through 17. There you will see that after several unsuccessful attempts at selling the property, they are recommending that the property be transferred to the trustees of the presbytery and the congregation dissolved when that transfer is complete. You will find the rationale and background for this following the recommendations. The Committee on Ministries report can be found on pages 18 through 20. They will be bringing recommendations for revisions to current policies of the presbytery. The first of these, the sick and family medical leave policy, can be found on pages 21 to 24. The revisions here have to do with bringing our policy into agreement with recent changes to the form of government section of the Book of Order at the last General Assembly that were then approved by a majority of the presbyteries regarding paid family medical leave. The second revised policy is the presbytery's policy concerning terminations of pastoral relationships. It can be found on pages 25 to 26. The revisions seek to equitably provide for all pastoral leaders and to balance the needs of pastoral leaders and churches. In addition to the recommendation of revised policies, you will note that there is much in their information section regarding the ongoing work of the Committee on Ministry with congregations and pastoral leadership. They've also held several events, the Small Church Conference and Healthy Boundaries trainings for members and leaders in the presbytery. As part of their report, they will be commissioning Rick McLaughlin to serve as a commissioned pastor for Alexander Memorial, Liberty, and Baxter Presbyterian churches. While the commissioning service can be found on pages 29 to 31, there is an updated version in the email in which you received the link to this video that is also posted on the Presbytery's website. At this point in the meeting, there will be a time of good news from the pews. This is a time for those ruling elder commissioners present to share one way in which their congregation is engaged in ministry and mission. The hope is that as some share, others may glean ideas to take back to their sessions and congregations. If you're your session's ruling elder commissioner for this meeting and would like to share, again, I'd encourage you to be prepared to do so before you get there. And again, remember to direct your remarks to the moderator using the microphone. Please note that this is not intended as a time to advertise upcoming events. The Stewardship Committee's report is found on pages 32 to 45. The information section provides an update on the financial records review and the Bluestone line of credit. Chris Alfred, financial administrator and treasurer for the Presbytery, will review the financial information found there. Pages 33 to 39 include third quarter financial reports. Pages 40 to 42 provide information by congregation on 2023 benevolence pledges and per capita. The bold print indicates those churches that returned a pledge card. Page 43 provides financial information on Bluestone Conference Center, followed by page 44 with information from Friends of Bluestone. The Vocations Committee report is next and can be found on pages 46 and 47. They are recommending that the ruling elders who completed the recent communion preparation training be given permission to preside at communion in their churches of membership from November 18, 2023 through December 31st, 2024. Those elders and their churches are listed in the recommendation. The information section reports on the committee's work with those currently in the Authorized Lay Preacher Commission Pastor Preparation Program and their plans for a new cycle of the program beginning in 2024. As part of their report, there will be a video highlighting this opportunity. Registration information for the first year, which we call Presby Prep, can be found in the flyer section of the packet. The committee also celebrates that Payne Warner has been ordained as Minister of Word and Sacrament to serve as the pastor of First Presbyterian Church, Youngstown, Ohio. The Nurture Committee report can be found on pages 48 and 49. As a reminder, the Resource Center continues to be housed at Bree Memorial Presbyterian Church in Charleston, and resources can be mailed out. You can access information on resources by going to the catalog program found on the Presbytery's website. You may also check out resources that they have at the display table at this meeting. Finally, you'll find information on upcoming events for adults and youth for the first part of 2024. Flyers on the events can be found in the flyers section of the packet for easy sharing with those in your congregation. The Bluestone Committee will be reporting next. You will find their written report on page 50. In it, you will note that Sarah Specht, Program Director for the past 6 years, has resigned effective December 31st. The committee will be working with the Administration Committee for a Program Director for summer 2024. You'll also find their dates for spring retreats and summer camp, and an updates on repairs and maintenance to the facilities at Bluestone. The final verbal report on the 18th will be that of the Administration Committee. Their written report can be found on page 51. As part of their report, they will be bringing a recommendation for a salary increase for Chris Alford, Financial Administrator Treasurer of the Presbytery. While other staff members will be receiving increases as well, his increase must be voted on by the Presbytery, as he is an officer of the Presbytery. You will also find information here on the committee's ongoing work in light of the sale of the building last October, their work with the transitional general presbyter, and needed updates to position descriptions. As part of their report, they will also be recognizing Sarah Specht for her service to the Presbytery as Bluestone's Program Director. Several committees have only written reports for this meeting. The report of the Mission Committee can be found on page 52. Their recommendation for the offering will most likely have been approved on the consent agenda. In the information section, you'll find that they are working to address food insecurity. They've made several grants and continue to learn more about the grants and grant processes they oversee. The report of the Relations Committee can be found on page 53 and 54. They continue to seek to reach out to clerks of session as they seek to strengthen relationships between the Presbytery and our congregations. You'll also find information about grants that are available for joint ministry. The report of the trustees can be found on page 55. In it, you will find their report on the sale of the St. Mary's Presbyterian Church building. Following all of the committee reports, Don Adamy, pastor of Bree Memorial Presbyterian Church, will be installed as moderator for 24 and 25. She will then install committee chairs and Presbytery leaders for 2024. As you continue through the packet, you'll find an evaluation form for this meeting on page 56. Please take the time to share your feedback to assist those who plan future meetings. You may do so by printing this page in the packet, taking it with you to the meeting, completing it before you leave, and turning it in there. Or you may print and complete it and send it by snail mail. Or you may complete it using the form that will be emailed shortly after the meeting. Whichever way works best for you, please take the time to complete and return this evaluation. Following the evaluation form in the packet is the worship bulletin. After the bulletin, there's a section titled Flyers. These contain information on upcoming events and are meant to be shared with those on your session and in your congregation. Flyers in this packet include Presby Prep, the first year in the Authorized Lay Preacher Commission Pastor Preparation Program, which will begin in January 2024 if enough people register. The 2024 schedule of Expanding Your Ministry Toolbox courses, with an explanation of what these are at the opening paragraph. Seeing Differently, an Introduction to Systems Thinking will be the first Toolbox course offered on Zoom on Saturday, January 13th. The next flyer concerns the annual event of the Association of Partners in Christian Education, which will be held January 24 to 27, 2024 in St. Louis, Missouri. The Educator Clergy CPALP retreat will be held in person in Charleston, February 19th and 20th. Preaching Pentecost in the Long Road After will be the second Toolbox course and be held on Saturday, March 2nd at Village Chapel Presbyterian Church in Charleston and on Zoom. Presbytery-sponsored youth events for January through July 2024, including the Spring Youth Retreat and the Work Camp with West Virginia Ministry of Advocacy and Work Camps, is the final flyer. You'll notice a familiar name on the bottom of most of these, so please reach out to me if you have any questions. If there's no new business given to the stated clerk before the lunch break, we will then move to adjourn, and the moderator will send us out with a benediction. However, while the benediction ends the meeting, please note that your work as a commissioner here continues as you share the work that Presbytery has done at this meeting with your session, with your congregation. And please don't forget to share the flyers with any who might be interested. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, November 18th at First Presbyterian Church in Charleston. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please let me know. I can be reached at Susan_Sharp_Campbell@hotmail.com. Thanks for watching.